Oh man. Hi, Laura. I don't know what I missed, but this is clearly engaged. So we're going to start by all of you guys taking a moment. I guess I remember to leave that. You all are going to take a moment to lay down on your abdomen. Okay. We're going to start in heads up, 7 up crocodile style for today.
It was for her if no one else needed it. She has one and you had none. So
we're going to start laying on our bellies. So since a lot of us had, at least in person, had what we were calling a stressful week, we're going to start lying on our stomachs. And what I would encourage you to do for today is with your heads up, 7 up, you might actually lift your heads just a little bit. I want you to walk your elbows forward and walk your hands back. And so you can maybe cross the forearms just a little bit. Yep. So there's a little bit more support underneath your head and it lifts your shoulders up just a bit. And then take a moment to either widen your feet as wide as the mat. And you can see how that feels to let the inner edges of the feet touch the floor, or feel what it feels like to have the outer edges of the feet touch the floor. And then some of you might choose to walk your feet in just a little bit and see what that feels like. So it's just a little bit wider than your hips. And the first thing that we're going to start with is I just want you to notice where you can soften and where you can let go. And we're going to just start by doing that by noticing any tension around the neck and the shoulders and see where you can soften there. With the arms in this position, it does create a little awkwardness around the shoulders. So see where you can let that go. And then I want you to notice how the knees feel. Do you need to adjust the feet so the knees feel better? Yeah. And then pay attention to how the pelvis feels. And then that space at the bottom of your rib cage where the sternum is, I want you to pay attention to what that feels like. And some of you may notice that just by being here so far, your breath has already started to change. And so we're going to use this as the means of grounding ourselves for a few more breaths before we get into our practice today. And what's been alive for me has really been a lot of, I guess, unnecessary worry, things where I need to learn to just take responsibility for what I can actually control and learn what things I can learn to soften and let go of. And the irony is, I think so many of us love people that drive us freaking bat crap crazy. And we have to figure out how we can be in harmony with them while also primarily being in harmony with ourselves so that we don't become so stressed out when they do things that really make us want to kill them. So you're going to take 3 or 4 more breaths here. And I want you to see if you can really press into the sternum. And as you continue to press into the sternum, notice what happens in the low back and the pelvis. And then just observe how the breath can now maybe become a bit more 3-dimensionally. So maybe you even feel it wide in the ribs and in the low back. Great. From here, I'd like you to just lift your heads just a smidge, enough to slide your right arm out to the right. Yep, just like a T. Really activate through that right arm and press into the floor. Step the left hand directly underneath the left shoulder. Now you're going to keep your belly on the floor and take a big breath in here. And then exhale, just press into that left hand and roll as much as you can to the right, keeping your belly on the floor. Belly on the floor, belly on the floor. And so we're going to gently do this 3 times. So not to worry, the first one's not going to be the biggest. You're just trying to isolate what the rib cage can do and how it can rotate. And then on your next in-breath, you'll come onto your belly. The left arm will go out to the left. The right arm will come underneath the right shoulder. Take a big breath in here, keeping the belly on the floor. Exhale, start to rotate towards the left. And you might feel that if you really press into that left hand, you might feel a nice, gentle opening happening here. The belly still on the floor gives you a bit of feedback from the floor, and just notice what that feels like. On your next inhalation, you'll come back onto the abdomen. The right hand goes out to the right, left hand comes underneath you. This time you'll exhale and start to shift more of your weight to the right. So maybe you'll stack that left hip on top of the right, and you'll roll even more towards the right. The belly can now come off the floor if you'd like. And you're just going to take 3 or 4 breaths here. And you're again just noticing what you're experiencing in this moment in this shape. As you inhale, let's go ahead and come back onto the stomach. Extend the left arm out to the left, right hand underneath the shoulders. As you exhale, start to roll over to the left, stacking the right hip on top. And then just take a few breath cycles here. And you're just really pressing into that left hand. You're breathing, you're noticing what you notice happening here. Nice work. On your next in-breath, go ahead and come on to the belly. Extend the right arm out to the right. Yep. And this time, some of you may bend that right elbow if you'd like, or you may keep it straight. Slide the right arm even more to the right, and then start to roll towards the right. Now you might stack the hips. You might bring that top leg behind you. But again, you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And if the elbow is bent, you're pressing into the right elbow, dragging the right elbow towards your right pec muscles, and you're just noticing where you can soften, where you can release just a little bit of tension. Nice work. On your next in-breath, let's go ahead and come back onto the abdomen. Extend the left arm to the left, maybe bend the elbow if you'd like, right arm underneath your shoulder. And then slide that left arm to the left even more before you start to roll to the left, pressing into the right hand, maybe drawing the top foot, the right foot behind you. If the left elbow is bent, push down into the left elbow and draw it towards your left pec. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Nice work, guys. On your next in-breath, go ahead and come back onto the abdomen. This time, as you exhale, let's bring both hands underneath your shoulders, press onto your hands and knees, and find yourself into a very exaggerated cat shape. So really super rounded spine. Yep. And then as you inhale, find yourself into that cow shape. And you've got 4 of these, just exhaling and inhaling and noticing what this feels like to really just connect with the body, with the breath, with this moment. I can't speak for any of you, but I notice that when my family members drive me crazy, it's because I start anticipating the future instead of really paying attention to the present. And our practice teaches us that if we can be present, so many things will start to become a little bit more bearable once we actually encounter them. All right, listen very closely. The next time you round into your cat shape, let's start to look over, or rather draw your right hip to your right shoulder, staying in that rounded shape. Yep, and just notice what that feels like in the body, really round through the upper back. And then you'll inhale, come through center, and then go over to the left, really drawing your left hip towards your left shoulder as much as you can. Yep. And then inhaling, coming back through center, and then go to the other side. And as best as you can, see if you could keep rounding through that spine and just noticing what that's doing on the opposite side. Inhale through center. And exhale, left hip to left shoulder. Yep. And then you'll inhale and come back through center. And then I want you to take 4 barrel rolls to the right. So your rib cage will go to the right, and then back, and then left, and then down. And you might start by just moving the ribs, and then you might find that you want to integrate the head, and the head might be going in an opposite direction as the hips. And again, you're just paying attention to the breath, really feeling and sensing into it. And after you've taken 4 one way, you'll go ahead and pause. Notice what you notice in center, and then go the other way. So now we're going to the left and up to the sky and to the right and down to the floor. And you might notice that as you go along with these, you might want to let the head become involved, and the head might be making a circle in opposition to your pelvis. Yeah. And after you've done 4 of those, go ahead and find yourself in a neutral position. Curl both sets of toes under and press your pelvis back to a downward facing dog, keeping the knees pretty bent. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what this feels like. And with the knees bent, you might straighten one knee, you might straighten the other, but you're just pressing the floor away. And you're breathing and you're just noticing what shifted just by connecting with the breath, connecting with this moment, connecting with your bodies. Awesome sauce. On your next in-breath, go ahead and come back down to hands and knees. Walk your knees, ankles, and shins together. Start to walk your hands back towards your pelvis and bring your spine up to vertical. At this point, you might want to curl your pinky toes under. Awesome sauce. And then we're just going to take a few wrist circles. We're just going to breathe here. And if you've done 4 one way, go ahead and switch the other direction. And I want you to just pay attention to the breath. All the crazy things in life are like the asymmetrical movements of our arms, but how can we still breathe through them and let that not derail us? Next thing, go ahead and slide left arm underneath, right arm on top for Garudasana arms. And you'll just inhale and lift the elbows up. And exhale, draw them down, and you'll just do 3 of these. And the more you press your elbows forward and into each other, the more opening you might feel in that upper back body. Yeah, last one. And then very gently, you'll release that. And then inhale, switch arms. So the right arm will be underneath, left arm will be on top. Inhale, lift the elbows, press them into each other. And exhale, draw them down. And you've got 3 more on your own. And you're just noticing what sensations are happening around the neck, the shoulders, the breath. Awesome. After your 4th and final one, you'll release your arms. You'll come forward, hands and knees, happy little pitter patter of your toes, little temper tantrum if you'd like. And then you might shift your weight back and stretch the tops of the feet, the knees, the ankles, if knees, ankles, and shins permit that. Yep, and then again, just come back to your breath. Do you sense the breath? Do you hear the breath? Do you feel the breath? And then when you're ready, we'll come back forward onto hands and knees. I would encourage you to put a blanket underneath your knees if your knees or shins happen to be sensitive, but you do whatever the heck works for you. And those of us that are using a blanket, I would encourage you to walk your knees forward just a little bit. So it almost feels like the top of the thigh bone hangs off the edge of the blanket. Great. And then from here, hands underneath your shoulders. I want you to zip the low belly in. So you're going to hug your front 2 hip bones together, your pubic bone to your tailbone. Slide your left foot back, curl the toes into the floor, and then squeeze your glutes on the left side. Keep drawing your pubic bone to your belly button. Float your left leg parallel to the floor. Great. Keep squeezing your left glute. Draw your tailbone back. Reach your right arm forward. Palm faces in. And then we're just going to stay here for 3 breaths. And I want you to imagine that you're pressing into an imaginary wall with that right hand. Keep inflating your low back and lift up through that inner left thigh. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing. On your next exhale, lower just the right arm, lower just the left foot to touch the floor. So keep it straight, and then inhale, lift it up. And you got 5 of these. So we're going to see if we can stabilize that low back, pressing it up to the sky. Yep, as you lift and lower that leg. And you might find if you squeeze your left tuchus, you can lift the leg a little higher and it engages the back body a little bit more. Yep, keep low back engaged. Awesome sauce. After you've done 5, go ahead and lower that left knee to the floor. Once again, take a cat and a cow to just reset. And then as you're ready, you'll come back to a neutral spine. You'll zip the low belly in, front hip bones hug together, slide your right leg back, press the toes into the floor, squeeze your right hip, and then float your right leg parallel to the floor. Yeah, keeping that, transfer weight into the right hand, send your left arm forward, palm faces in. Yeah, and then you just got a few breaths here. And then you want to imagine that the left hand is pushing into the medial line, the right leg is pushing into the medial line, and you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower just the left hand to the floor, touch your toes to the floor, and then inhale, lift that leg up. And you've got 5 of these. And as best as you can, see if you can pull that outer left hip back so your hips stay square as you lift and lower. Yep, that right leg. Nice work, guys. And then after you've finished your 5th one, you'll go ahead and lower that right knee down, curl both sets of toes under, press yourself back to downward facing dog. And you'll just take a moment to pause here. And in your down dog this time, you might find that you really want to pedal the knees a little bit more. You might find that you want to shift the hips a little bit from right to left. And you're just paying attention. How's the breath? How steady, how deep, how full, how consistent is your breath? Sorry there, Erica. And then very mindfully, let's go ahead and come to stillness. On your next in breath, Take a little bit more length in the spine. As you exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Pause here. Spin your left foot to the floor. Bring both hands inside your right foot. Now walk your hands more towards the upper left-hand corner of your space. Push down into the knife edge of your back foot. Push your hands down and forward. Send your tuchus back towards that lower right-hand corner of your space. And then squeeze that outer right hip. Yeah, there you go. To draw the outer right knee back in line with the toe. And notice what's happening in your hips. Notice what's happening in your breath. See if you can find a down dog spine, even though you're in this lunge shape. So some of you might need to walk your hands a little bit further away from you, but the weight still stays in your legs. Yeah. On your next in-breath, draw your hands back to the inside edge of that right foot. Pivot to the ball of your back foot. Maybe slide your back foot back just a smidge. Bring your right hand to the outside edge of your right knee or thigh. Push your right hand into your right knee into your right hand. Claw your left hand back, reach your heart and sternum forward. Haha, there you go. And then exhale, start to scoop the belly on the right side and rotate your rib cage towards the right. Now, as you keep pushing your right thigh out to the right hand into the right thigh, keep squeezing your left tuchus. Some of you will stay right here and just scoop the right low belly even more. Some of you will reach the right arm up towards the sky for a revolved low lunge, but you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to notice what you notice. Nice work, guys. On your next exhale, go ahead and frame the front foot. Step back, Phalangasana, plank pose, 3 breaths. Take a moment to pause and breathe. And you're just going to notice, you're just going to notice how's the breath? How's the body? How's the engagement here, right now in this moment? Nice job, guys. At the end of your next exhale, bend your knees, hips high, downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And just check in. Can you hear your breath? Can you hear your breath? Can you sense your breath? Can you feel the breath? All right, let's try that on the other side. Inhale, find length in the vertebra. As you exhale, step your left foot between your hands. From here, bring both hands to the inside edge of the left foot, spin your right foot down to the floor, and then walk your hands forward towards the upper right corner of your space. Keeping your whole pinky toe edge of your right foot on the floor, you're going to squeeze your left outer hip. So you hug that outer left hip in towards your inner right thigh. And if you need to walk your hands forward, you walk your hands forward, but you push your hands forward, you push your hips back, and all the weight stays in all of your legs. All of your legs. Well, you guys have 2 legs, but all of the weight stays in both of your legs. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. So let's come back just a little bit. And I want you to push down here and hug this back. Yeah. And so Jenny, if you want to walk your hands a little bit more towards the top of your space, you might find that that gives you more. Does that feel different? Yeah. Okay, awesome. And then you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. Nice work. On your next in-breath, go ahead and come back through center, both hands to the inside, or rather framing that front foot. Pivot to the ball of your back foot, and you might need to slide your right foot back just a smidge. Bring your left hand to the outside edge of your left knee or thigh. Push the left thigh into the hand, push the hand into the thigh. Claw your right hand back so your heart goes forward. And then on your next exhale, scoop the belly on the left side and start to rotate the rib cage to the left. Awesome sauce. And so some of you will stay here just squeezing that back butt cheek. So in this case, your right butt cheek. And then lifting that inner right thigh. Some of you will start to rotate and then lift the left arm up. But you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're clawing that right hand back so the collarbones stay open, so that the spine stays long, so that the heart stays open. Nice job. On your next exhale, frame your front foot. Step yourself back, Phalangasana, plank pose. Take a moment to pause and breathe. And we're just going to be here for 3 breath cycles. Happy little plank, 3 breath cycles. We're just allowing ourselves to be present right here as we are. On your next inhalation, shift your weight forward. As you exhale, lower all the way down to the floor. Nice job. Okay, once you find yourself onto your abdomen, go ahead and separate those feet about hip distance apart. Press into the tops of your toenails, lengthen your tailbone back, and then I want you to draw the low belly in and up just slightly. With your hands underneath your shoulders, take the opportunity to draw the shoulders up to the ears and draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Now isometrically push down into your hands and pull them back a little bit as you draw your sternum forward. And then you can come as high as you want into the shape, but I encourage you to try squeezing the shoulder blades on the back body and lightly using the hands. You can see how much you can lift into this shape by using the muscles of the back body. Yeah, so we've got 3 breath cycles here, and you're pressing into your feet. You're keeping those legs long. You're hugging the shoulder blades onto the back body to lift the heart. Nice work, guys. On your next exhale, you're going to lower all the way down. As you inhale, come up through hands and knees or plank, fallen kasana, or tabletop, and then exhale, downward facing dog, 3 breaths. So in this moment, I just want you to check in and notice, what 3 things can you see in your visual field? 3 things. You might see your toes, you might see your mat, you might see your legs, you might see, I don't know, whatever's behind your butt. Like, just take a moment to notice 3 things that you can see. And then I want you to notice 2 things that you can hear. Hopefully one of them is your breath. Hopefully the other one is my voice. And then I want you to notice just what you notice in your mouth. Do you taste coffee? Do you taste water? Do you taste saliva? We're just allowing ourselves to ground in this moment, because very often when something crazy happens in life, we just have to ground, and then it will give us the opportunity to show up as we best are able, instead of finding ourselves wanting to fight with the people we care about. All right, let's go ahead and move on. What's the matter? I don't know, I'll get you one. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, step your right foot between your hands. I'm sorry. Go ahead and step your left foot forward slightly and spin it down for warrior 1, and then draw yourself up to Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1. Awesome. And then once we find ourselves in warrior 1, I want you to take a moment to actually bring your hands out of the equation for a moment. So maybe you bring them to your hips. First, start by paying attention to that back foot. Really make sure the pinky toe edge of that left foot is pressing into the floor. And then notice how that might be having sensation come up the back left leg, up into the left hip, and how you need to adjust the pelvis to find a sensation that feels good to you. And then notice what happens if you bend more into the front knee, your right knee. And then notice what happens if you shift your torso forward just a little bit to find length through the vertebra. And then let's just lift our left arm up and see if you can reach up through your left pinky finger, finding a long rippling ribbon going from your left pinky toe, spiraling up the left leg through the left hip, up across the torso, and up through that left arm. Then amongst all of that, can you lift your hearts? And then some of you will lift both arms up and overhead, and you'll breathe. And I want you to notice what happens there. Can you lift the hearts? Can you lift the gaze? Can you be in this Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1 pose, lifting the gaze while keeping the torso forward? Yep. On your next exhale, frame the front foot, pivot to the ball of the back foot, step back, 3-legged plank, pause. Awesome. So you're just going to push through your hands and lift up through the belly, and then you'll lower that right foot to the floor and you'll lift the left foot up. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe, and you'll get to do that 2 more times on your own, 1 on each side. So you're just going to see what's happening. How do you breathe through this? How do we find the strength, the courage, the knowingness that we can do this, that we have done this? Roberta, you can do it with 1 arm if you'd like. After you've done it both on each side, let's go ahead and shift our weight forward. As you exhale, lower all the way down. Nice job, guys. Inhale, come up through your version of cobra or up dog, your choice. And then you'll exhale and slowly lower down. Inhale through hands and knees or plank. And then exhale to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. 3 steady breaths. In this moment, notice what you can smell. Hopefully we've been breathing enough that your sense of smell feels a little bit more heightened. And so just notice that. Notice what you smell. Yep. And then notice what you feel. Can you feel the mat underneath your hands? Do you feel the clothes touching your skin, your hair touching your skin? Do you feel wisps of air touching the skin? Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and try the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Take a moment to step the back foot to the floor and slightly to the right. And then when you're ready, come up for Virba Hadrasana 1, Warrior 1. And just as we did before, we're going to take our hands out and find this position from the ground up. So you're going to start with the back foot, really press the right pinky toe into the floor. Notice how that's spiraling up the right leg and how you might need to adjust the orientation of the right hip to feel a nice stretch across the inside edge of the thigh, but not into the hip. And then maybe bend into that front knee even more. And then notice what happens if you adjust your torso slightly and then reach that right arm forward, finding length from the pinky finger all the way up, or rather pinky toe all the way up through the right pinky finger. And then if all of that's feeling happy, include your left arm in the situation. And then notice how with the torso even still slightly forward, you can keep the heart lifted, you can keep the gaze lifted, you can keep the neck long. And then notice your breath. Nice job, guys. On your next exhale, frame your front foot. Pivot to the ball of your back foot, step back, three-legged plank. Yep. And then you'll take a couple breaths there, lower that foot to the floor, and then do the other side. Yep. And then lower that down. And you got one more on each side, each on your own, just paying attention to the breath. And after you've done your 4 total, you'll shift your weight forward. You'll lower through your chaturanga. You'll come into your up dog or cobra, your choice, and you'll make your way back to your downward facing dog as you choose. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're connecting with what's present right now. Our minds are fantabulous instruments, or tools as the saying goes, but they make horrible masters. And a lot of times we can get ourselves worked up by thinking about things that have yet to happen. Awesome sauce. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Inhale, gaze to the top of your space. Exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, step or float top of space. Nice work. Once you get there, separate your feet about hip distance apart. From there, I want you to really pay attention to your feet. We spent a lot of times talking about this before, but I want you to look at your ankles. And I want you to see if it feels like you're bowing in with the ankles or bowing out with the ankles, and see if you can keep your ankles relatively parallel to the floor for you. And then notice if there's more weight towards the balls of your feet or the heels of your feet. And sometimes you have to actually shift forward and back in order to feel that. And then once you feel like you're pretty established and centered for you, you'll come to stillness. You'll bring your hands to the top of your shins. You'll inhale, slide your sternum forward, the top of your crown forward, your pelvis back. And then as you exhale, you'll round back in or fold back in Uttanasana, forward fold. And you'll do that 2 more times. And so you'll inhale, slide your sternum forward to your chin to your sternum, your crown forward, your pubic bone back. And then exhale from the pelvis, rolling all the way back in. And this last time we're going to stay. So we'll inhale and slide ourselves forward. As you exhale, stay here. Push your shins forward into your hands lightly back into your shins until you feel your legs engage. From here, I want you to bring one hand and then the other to your hip. Hug the shoulder blades onto the back. Keep the weight forward into your feet. On your next in-breath, start to bend your knees. As you exhale, scoop the belly and bring yourself up for Utkatasana, chair pose. Once we're here for chair pose, I want you to notice what we're going to do. This is not going to be fun, but you're going to love me later, hopefully. I know, it's so bad. So I want you to push down into your feet. Really notice that you have to push down into the big toes and spread wide into the pinky toes and yet hug the heels in. And then you're going to reach your arms forward. And this is going to be a fake out, I'm sorry, but you're going to imagine that you're going to sit really super low because you're going to try to take your butt to the floor. Awesome sauce. Once you're there, start to reach your arms alongside your ears. That's a lot deeper than we're normally sitting. Yep. And so you're going to push into your feet. You're going to breathe. You're going to squeeze those outer glutes. You're going to reach up through your pinky fingers and you're going to notice the breath. We got 2 more breath cycles here. Keep pressing evenly into your big toes. Yep. Next inhalation, stand up, reach up, look up. And some of you will exhale and bring your hands to the back of your head and you'll push your head into your hands into your head for a nice little opening across the chest. Drop the tailbone down. Awesome. And then bring the head back to vertical, lower the arms down. Take a moment to just stabilize, maybe wiggle around, but take a deep breath. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. And I want you to just notice, what is one thing that you can see in your immediate space? And find two more things. What is one thing that you can feel in your immediate body? And then find two more things. Order one thing. What is one thing you can hear in your immediate environment? And find two more things. The more that we can allow ourselves to pick these physical things that we can really attach to, it allows us to ground ourselves when life suddenly presents us with something other than what we had expected, hoped for, anticipated. All right, let's go ahead and turn to face the long edge of your mat. I guess people at home, they'll turn to the left side of the room. All right, and then let's go ahead and separate our feet at least 3 feet apart. Maybe longer, actually, you guys have longer legs, so maybe 3 or 4 feet apart. Turn your right toes to face the top of your space. Turn your left toes in. Go ahead and bend your front knee and find Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So once you try to find your Warrior 2, you might notice that you need to adjust your stance. So maybe your legs need to be further apart front to back. Maybe they need to be further apart right to left. I want you to see where you can find some interesting sensations in this shape. So we've done a zillion of these. So what do you have to change about this for it to be fascinating for you right now? And so each one of you is going to do something different. If you want to close your eyes, do that. If you want to adjust your arms, do that. If you want to adjust your feet, do that. But you're finding something that's making this interesting for you. And then once you feel like you've found that, I want you to take 3 steady breaths. Notice where you can soften any tension around the neck or the shoulders. Notice where you can soften any tension around the hands. Great. Next in breath, go ahead and stand up, or rather straighten that front leg. Pull that right kneecap up and press down into the right big toe. And I want you to keep your pelvis as it is. So go ahead and bring your pelvis or your hands to your pelvis for a moment. And then I want you to keep your pelvis as it is. So you're going to start to slide the right hand down your right leg as far as you can go until you start to feel some fun stretch happening across the top of your left hip. Once you find that, push your right hand into your right thigh shin, draw your right ribs forward, your left ribs on top, and then press into that left foot. You might then start to reach your left arm up for Trikonasana, triangle pose, but we're doing a very different variation. So we're looking at finding sensation on the top of the shape versus your legs. Awesome sauce. And you've just got 2 more breath cycles here. Still keep that left leg engaged. Awesome sauce. Next in breath, return back to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Yep, and just feel what this feels like. And then as you exhale, straighten that front leg long once again. And now take your normal triangle where you're trying to reach that hand as close to the floor, the shin, the block, whatever as you can. And notice how this sensation is different. Now press down into that big toe mound of the right foot. Really press down onto the knife edge of your left foot, and then see if the right ribs can come under, left ribs on top, heart stays open. Nice job, guys. On your next in breath, turn your gaze to the floor. As you exhale, bend the knee, return back to Warrior 2. Back to Warrior 2. Straighten the front leg long, turn both legs parallel to the short edges of your mat. And then we'll just try all that on the other side. But before we do, take a moment with both feet parallel-ish to notice what you notice. How's the breath? How's the body? How are you? And then when we're ready to try round 2, the left toes will face the back edge of the mat. The right toes will turn in slightly. And you'll take Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. And again, I want this to be interesting for you. So I don't care what it looks like. Literally, I do not. And so I want you to find what is interesting to you right now in this shape, in this moment in your life. I think one of the things that really bothers me sometimes about not being able to control everything is I think I'm going to miss out on it. But what if every sensation or every experience is just there to give us an experience, just to give us a sensation, so we learn a different part of our own experience, our own body, our own thoughts, our own feelings. And then once you've found whatever you're doing, pause and just take 3 breaths. Notice where you can soften, where you don't have to make this any other than it is, and all you have to do is breathe. Nice job, guys. All right. As you're ready, let's go ahead and inhale, straighten that front leg long. As you exhale, let's lower our left hand to the top of our left thigh. Right hand might come to right hip. pull that left kneecap up and then start to slide your left hand down the front of that left thigh without tipping your hips. So we're trying to see if we can find a nice sensation happening across the top of our left hips. And so once you found your depth for you, you're going to push your left hand into that left thigh into the left hand, rotate the left ribs up, or rather under, right ribs up. And hopefully we're finding something happening across the upper part of our hip, low back area. And if that's working for you, you might reach the top arm up. And then you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to notice what you can notice. See if you can soften any tension around your mouth. And then next in breath, bend the front knee, return to Virabhadrasana 2, little palate cleanser. Awesome sauce. And then as you exhale, go ahead and straighten that front leg long. Inhale, reach forward, out and down for Utthita Trikonasana. Maybe reaching that left hand forward enough so much that it touches the floor, the shin, or a block. And then again, notice what happens if you push into that front foot. Yeah, push into the outside edge of that back foot and then wrap your left ribs under, right ribs on top. And then can the heart stay open and the head in line with spine. Yeah, nice job, guys. On your next in breath, turn your gaze to the floor. As you exhale, bend the front knee, return to Virabhadrasana 2. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and straighten that front leg long. Turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Now from here, it's up to you. Hands might be at your hips, hands might be interlaced, hands might be flying, but you're going to lift your heart up. And then you're going to exhale and you're going to fold over halfway and pause there for a moment. Check in with your feet, see where the weight is, and then exhale, fold all the way in for Prasarita Padottanasana. Those with hands on hips might slide down to ankles. You might bring your hands underneath your shoulders, but you've got 3 to 4 breath cycles here. And again, I want you to find something that is interesting for you about this shape in this moment in time. You know, and so you might find that you want to bend one knee just a little bit. You might find that you want to bend the other knee just a little bit. You might find that you want to walk your hands forward. You might find that you want to walk your hands back. You might find that you just want to be freaking still and enjoy the shape, and you just choose what works best for you and what allows you to breathe deeply. Awesome sauce. All right, let's go ahead and inhale, lift our heads so our hands are underneath our shoulders. That was real clear. Walk your hands under your shoulders, lift your heads. Yep. As you exhale, turn to face the top of your space, come to a low lunge, and then go ahead and step yourself back to downward facing dog. You have the option to cycle through an up dog or cobra or not, but we'll rest for a few breaths in child's pose before we move on. And you just want to check in. Just want to check in. How's the breath? How's the body? How are you? And we're only going to be here for 3 minutes. 3 minutes, wow, 3 breaths. The line hold, Sandy. Only going to be here for 3 breaths. So you just notice what you notice. Giving yourself that little bit of reprieve. Great. All right. Let's go ahead and inhale. Come forward onto hands and knees. I do encourage you to put a blanket underneath your knees once again, but you choose to do whatever the heck is going to work for you. Are we doing okay? Okay. What? All right. So we're just going to build on to what we've been doing and see if we can try something else with it. It's not super fancy, but so we're going to draw our front 2 hip bones together, our pubic bone to our belly button, and then slide your left foot back. Now go ahead and walk your right knee over to the right, spin your left foot down, and then we're going to start to stack our left shoulder on top of our right shoulder. So we're coming into this side variation. For today, I want everyone to bring your hand to your back. So bring your hand to your back. So your top hand comes to your back. And I want you to see if you can find your back as long as it can be. And so you're going to keep that area long. You're going to push down into your left foot, and then you can rotate your left shoulder up if you'd like. Keep pushing into your right hand. You might extend your left arm up. Awesome. Some of you will stay here happy as a clam. Some of you will lift that back leg. So I need a blanket, but you're going to lift your back leg, floating it parallel-ish to the floor. Yep. And then from there, some of you will happily stay there. Some of you will bend that left knee, grab the left foot with the left hand. Now, we want to imagine that our hand is still on our low back. So keep your low back that long. Lengthen your tailbone down to your left knee. Pull your left heel to your left hip. Rotate the ribs under. And then some of you will stay right there. Some of you will kick your foot behind you. But we want to keep our low back just as long as we just had it a second ago. And then are you breathing? Are you breathing? Are you breathing? Nice job, guys. Very gently, draw that left heel closer to the pelvis. Gently release the left leg, let it float out. And then lower the left foot back to the floor. Come back onto hands and knees. Take a cat and a cow to reset. And then we'll try all that on the other side. And you're just pausing. And you're breathing. Awesome sauce. And then once we're in stillness, once again, draw the front two hip bones together, the pubic bone to the belly button. Go ahead and slide your right foot back this time. Take your left foot over to the left. Spin your right foot down and start to stack your right shoulder on top of your left. And phase one, we might just stay here. You might bring that right hand to your low back and see if you can find length here. So you really can have your palm on your back to find length there. Some of you will stay right there and just maybe float the top arm up. Some of you will lift that right leg parallel-ish to the floor. Awesome. Some of you will stay right there. Some of you will bend that right knee, reach around and grab the outside edge of your right foot. Now imagine your hand is still there. So your tailbone, yep, is lengthening back to that inner right thigh. You're hugging your right heel to your pelvis, yep. And then wrapping your left ribs under, right ribs on top. Yeah, some of you will stay right there. Some of you will kick that foot back behind you for baby Chapasana. But you're just gonna pause and you're gonna breathe and you're gonna pause and you're gonna breathe. Nice job, guys. Very gently draw that right heel closer to the pelvis. Gently release the right hand, float the right leg parallel to the floor. Lower that right leg down, lower the hands to the floor. Come to a cat and cow, and then you'll make your way to a downward facing dog if you'd like. Or child's pose, as Sandy said. I said child's pose. We're all going there. And then you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. You guys are funny. All right. And so after you've taken your little reprieve in child's pose, if that's what I said, you'll make your way to downward facing dog. And if you have something underneath you and you don't have a little elf that's there, please go ahead and remove that. And then listen very closely. Let's go ahead and inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, bend that knee, open and stack the hip. Wow. That was fun. Awesome sauce. Next, in breath, find more length. As you exhale, hug the knee towards your belly. Pause here. Step that foot between your back foot and your hand. So it's not going to go all the way to the front hand. Great. From here, you're going to start to shift your weight forward. Float that back leg parallel to the floor. You might want blocks underneath your hands. You might not. Yep. And then see if you can square that back foot parallel to the floor. Hold that hip. Squeeze that back right butt cheek, left butt cheek. And then let's see if we can lift our spines parallel-ish to the floor for a warrior 3 variation. Yep. Keep drawing that outer right hip back. Yep. Press back through that left foot and lift up through that inner left thigh. Awesome sauce. Some of you will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of you will draw your left hand to your left hip. Actually, pause. Keep both hands on your blocks. Stack your left hip first. Some of you will stay there. Some of you will bring your left hand to your left hip. Pause. Some of you will float that left arm up. Some of you will wrap the right ribs under, the left ribs on top, and find yourself in Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Nice job, guys. As you're ready, you'll gently lower that left hand back, square your hips to the floor, bend your front knee, step yourself back to a downward facing dog. Take a moment to pause, take a moment to breathe. And we'll just notice how that went. Awesome sauce. 3 breaths. Yep. Keep that. And then, and imagine my hands still between your shoulder blades. There we go. That feel different? Okay. On your next in breath, let's go ahead and lift your left leg up and back. As you exhale, bend that knee, open and stack that hip. Just take a breath here. On your next exhale, hug that left knee to your chest. And we're going to just step that foot halfway between your hands and your back foot. And then you'll start to shift your weight forward. Walk your hands forward, float your back leg parallel-ish to the floor. And then first things first, really engage that back leg. So you're pushing out through that heel, you're lifting through that inner thigh. With your hands on your blocks, you might then lift your spine parallel-ish to the floor. Some of you will stay here happy as a clam. Some of you will stack your right hip on top of your left. You might then bring your right hand to your right hip. You might then push down to the left hand, rotate the left ribs under, and then maybe float that right arm up. Nice job, guys. And are you breathing? Yeah. And then as you're ready, you'll gently lower that right hand to the floor, square your hips to the floor, bend the front knee, step back, downward facing dog. Make your way to child's pose however the heck you want. So if you want to cycle through or not, you do. But we'll meet in child's pose. Nice job. 3 steady breaths. Three steady breaths. And then just notice what you feel in this moment. This one sensation that you have in your body, and then I want you to notice 2 more. And then I want you to notice one thing that you hear, and then notice 2 more. And it's okay if you keep noticing the same things, but I want you to see if you can just notice what you notice. Okay. Great. As you're ready, let's go ahead and come up to sit. And we are going to sit on our butts. I do encourage you to sit on a blanket. You choose whatever you want. You might not sit on a blanket. You might just be like, yep, Jessica, I don't need that today. And I'm like, all right. And we're just going to sit for Sukhasana for a moment. And so let's make sure for all of us that our right shin bone is in front. Okay. Other way, Sandy. What? Okay. So we're going to do this on both sides. So you'll get to do this twice. Well, we're going to start to hinge forward slightly at our hips. And we're going to do a slight dancer stretch. So you're going to walk your hands over towards that left knee. And ideally, we're trying to find something happening on our outer right hip. And we're going to do this a couple of times. So if the first one's not getting you, no worries. But you're just going to see what you feel, trying to keep the spine as long as possible. And you're going to push down into your left hip. And you're just going to breathe. And you're going to notice what you notice in that outer left hip. And ideally, if your feet are directly underneath the opposite knee, we've got a little bit more external rotation happening there that will just allow the hips to start to open. Yeah. And then we'll gently start to walk our hands back and we'll come up to sit. And then we're going to try that on the other side. Don't worry. No, your right hip. Did you feel it in your left hip?
No.
Oh, sorry if I said left. Okay. My left hip, your right hip. Okay, let's try the other side. So now your left shin bone is in front. And you want to sit up tall. And we want to try to hinge forward at the hips. And we're going over our right knee. And we're just trying to find a little bit of outer stretch on the left hip this time. So not your right hip. Thank you, Sandy. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. And it really helps if you really root down that left hip into the floor. Like you're not forcing it down there, but the energy is going left hip down and back. And you're just noticing what that's doing into the back body, what that's doing into the hip. And then very gently, we'll start to walk our hands back. We'll start to come up to sit. Okay, we're going to go back to the first side. So your right shin bone is in front. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will be like, okay, we're going to try this. And you're going to stack your shin for Agni Stambhasana. And so if we're doing that, we really want to make sure our right outer pinky toe is outside of our left knee. And you can do the first version again. And so this time, actually, we're going to go towards our right first. And you're going to notice that this is giving you a lot of sensation. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to be like, oh gosh. And you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. Okay. If this is a fun sensation for you, you will stay right here. Some of you will back up out of the shape, and we're going to try going over to the left foot. So again, our hands are coming over to the left side. You're really rooting down that right outer hip. That right foot stays active, and you're noticing what's happening in that right or outer hip, your outer right hip, and just pausing and breathing and noticing what that's doing in the body, what this is doing to your breath, what both of those are having, what impact they're having on your mind and thus your heart. Awesome sauce. As you're ready, you'll gently walk the hands back. You'll come up through center. We'll uncross the legs and we'll try the other shin in front. And again, you might just stay here in Sukhasana. You might stack your left shin bone on top. And some of you might want to lift your pelvis up and slide it a little bit to the right. It sometimes just helps things along. And then just as we did the first time, we're going to go over that left knee first. And you're just going to feel what this feels like, really keeping that left foot active. Noticing what this feels like, noticing how you're breathing. Noticing where you're holding tension and maybe where you can soften a bit. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will start to walk your hands back, come back up through center, and then we'll go over the right knee. And again, we're still pushing that outer left hip down and back. That left foot is super active. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing. Awesome sauce. Very gently, we'll start to come out of this shape. And then you're going to come back to Sukhasana, whichever shin bone you like in front. And then from here, remove any flesh that's underneath your sit bones, and we're just going to come straight forward. And you're going to go as far as you want, but you're going to just come straight forward. And the intention here is to push both sit bones down, to breathe in both outer hips and just observe and notice what you notice. And some of you will just lower the forearms down. Some of you will walk the hands all the way forward. Like it really just depends on what you're noticing, but you've just got 3 breath cycles here. And again, you're pausing, you're breathing. And I want you to notice 3 things that you can sense. That's a very vague term, so I want you to just notice what that means for you. Is it hearing? Is it feeling? Is it seeing? Is it touching? Is it tasting? What are 3 things that you sense? Might even be emotional. All right, and then we'll gently start to come out of this. You'll walk your hands back. You'll roll the spine up. You'll come up to sit. And then just for a brief moment, you're going to extend both legs long in front of you for Dandasana. And we want to have the feet active, pulling up to the knees pulling up to the hips, sitting as tall as we can. Some of you will just bring your hands right next to your hips. Some of them will bring them back behind you, but you're going to hug the shoulder blades together, lift the heart up, maybe take the gaze up, and just take 3 to 4 breath cycles here with the heart open, the legs active, the shoulder blades onto the back body, breathing. Nice job. Very gently, We'll come back up. People at home, you'll turn around. People at home, people in person, you'll turn around and you'll lay down on your back. Somebody's at home. Well, Roberta's at home. So is Steve and Barbara and Laura. And then you'll just lie down on your backs, and we are getting ready for our final shape. So if you feel like you want to put something on you, by all means, do that. But then once you feel like you bundled your body up, if you're bundling your bodies up, you'll just lay down on your backs. And when you're on your backs, I want you to just notice. So we haven't actually been flat like this. So you'll just notice what you notice. Okay, and I wanted us to do two more things. So let's go ahead and bend our knees and plant our feet on the floor. Bring your hands alongside your hips and then bend your elbows like little robots. Now, some of you will just stay right here and you'll push your elbows down into the floor. You'll squeeze your shoulders onto your back body to feel like an upper back chest thing, little back bend here. Some of you will then start to push into your feet, push into your elbows, lift your hips up. But we want to just find a little back bend. Yep. And you'll just stay there for a couple breath cycles, really keeping the back body engaged. And after you've taken about 2 to 3 breaths in your bridge, you'll slowly lower yourself down. And then just notice what you notice. And then we'll do that one more time. So maybe you just take that upper back bend by just really pushing down into the chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together, pushing down into the elbows, lift the chest. Maybe you lift the hips too, but you'll just pause and breathe. You might change the orientation of your arms if that feels good to you, but we're just taking a gentle back bend. And then you'll slowly bring yourself down. Now, once you come down this time, first find your back flat, then widen your feet outside of your hips, let the knees fall into each other, and then give your body a hug. There you go. And then let your elbows be super heavy on the chest. Now we're just going to stay here for a few breath cycles and breathe. And I want you to just notice what you notice in this shape. Like, do you need to move your feet so it feels like the knees are really knocking in and you're not having to hold or effort there? Do you need to adjust how the arms are so it feels like the arms are just resting there? Great. And then once you feel like you've gotten the bony structures of the body in place, I want you to just take 4 deep breaths here, really breathing into that abdomen, maybe breathing into the chest, noticing where with every exhalation you can soften and release a little bit. And with every inhalation, how you can invite in a little bit more nurturance, more support. Nice work, guys. Now, after your next exhalation, if there's any part of you that's longing to linger to do something else, by all means, please do that. It might be as simple as just switching whichever arm was on top. You might find that you want to do some supine twists. You might find that you want to do a happy baby or Supta Baddha Konasana, but you'll allow yourself to tap in and tune into whatever the body is feeling like it feels like it needs at this point. And no matter what you choose, I do encourage you to really continue to pay attention to the breath. How does whatever you're doing impact, influence, change what you experience happening in the breath? The more we can allow ourselves to breathe, the more we give ourselves permission to slow down It also gives us the capacity to respond when we need to. So you've got about another minute or so doing whatever the heck you happen to be doing. And then when you feel complete, please make your way to your final resting shape. So you might do a legs up the wall if that feels comfortable to you. You might do a supported Supta Baddha Konasana. You might go straight up for Shavasana. But you'll just take the time to do what feels most nurturing, most nourishing for you. Great. And as you take this opportunity to continue to settle into your shape, notice if there's any small adjustments you would like to make yourself a little bit more comfortable. Awesome. And then we'll complete by just paying attention to our breath. So let's go ahead and exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in, big breath out. Two more just like that. Taking in as much breath as is comfortable for you. And letting go of as much breath as is comfortable for you. Yep, one more just like that. This time as you inhale, you'll pause at the top, holding the breath for a couple beats, and then you'll exhale and let it go. Then you'll repeat that 2 more times, drawing in a deep breath, holding it at the top for just a beat or two, and then a soft exhale out. And here's our third one. Big breath in, holding the breath at the top of the inhalation, feeling whatever that feels like, and then feel the pleasure of the release. Great. Let's add on. Next time you breathe in, you'll take a big breath in. Again, you'll hold it at the top and then see if you can sip in just a little bit more air. Then when you're ready, you'll exhale and let that go, feeling the pleasure of that release. And you'll do that 2 more times on your own, drawing the breath in at the top. You'll hold it, sip in a little bit more air, and then exhale, let it all go. And after the third time that you've done that pattern and you've released the exhale, allow yourself to soften and to quiet. You might keep your awareness on the breath. You might allow your awareness to just travel through the body, noticing where you could continue to soften, where you can continue to release with every subsequent exhale. I'll leave you on your own for a few minutes, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to notice what you notice. If there's any part of you longing to linger here, by all means, please stay. When you are ready to move on, please invite small, gentle movement into the physical form in whatever way feels good to you. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, start to make your way over to one of your sides. After you've taken a few breaths on your side, you'll gently roll your chest more towards the floor, press into your top hand, and draw yourself to a tall and comfortable seat. And when you are vertical, I do encourage you to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. And then sit as tall as you can. So maybe with the gaze still inward, notice really what it feels like to allow the ears to stack over the shoulders to align with the hips. And then this is going to sound weird, but I want you to touch yourself in some place that sounds comfortable. You are in a public space, most of you. So like maybe it's a hand and a heart, maybe it's a hug around the chest, maybe you're touching your throat or your face, but just touch yourself in some way that feels comfortable for you, feels nurturing for you. I've been reading Fierce Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff, and she says like finding a way to touch ourselves in a way that feels supportive and loving and kind to us is like a really important thing that we don't do enough. So I want you to just take 3 to 4 breaths here, really feeling what you feel, really noticing what you notice. And so if we can remember this feeling, the sense of support, this sense of connection, the sense of love, no matter what happens in our lives, we know that we'll be able to handle it and we won't necessarily need to try to anticipate or control or predict what the future may be because we'll know at the end of the day that we got this. We've got enough strength and courage and love and kindness and compassion that we show towards ourselves. So no matter what else happens in life, we know that we can handle it. We can accomplish whatever we want to while still being the kind, loving, gentle people that we all are. So you'll take your last 3 breaths here. And at the end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll draw your hands to heart center Anjali Mudra. With hands at heart center, gently press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and lift your sternum into your thumbs. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. Draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light within me honors and salutes the light within each of you. Namaste.